friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, and hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young and straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Page 130. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. 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 Naria, naria, letzu ishenu nekadma fanav betoda. Naria, naria, letzu ishenu bizmirot naria lo. It's great to hear the echo of people singing here in Shul. Come, let us sing joyously to God, raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For the Eternal One is a great God and a great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hands are the depths of the earth, the peaks of the mountains are God. God is the sea, and God made it, and the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel, bend the knee before God our Maker. For the Eternal One is our God, and we are the people God stands, the flock of God care. Oh, if you would heed God's charge on this day. 132. Adonai malach tagel haaretz yismechu im ravim anan v'arafel sevivav tzedek u'mishpat mechon kis'o ohavei Adonai sinua shomer nafshot chasidav miyad reshaim yatzilem or zaru ala tzadik velishay lev simcha simchu tzadikim b'Adonai ve'odu lezecher kodsho. The Eternal One is sovereign, let the earth exalt and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds are around God, righteousness and justice are the base of God's throne. O you who love God, hate evil, God guard the lives of your loved ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light this song for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you righteous, rejoice in the Eternal and acclaim God's holy name. 134. L'Adonai kol haaretz, L'Adonai kol haaretz, L'Adonai kol haaretz, v'yitzchu, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, zamu le'Adonai v'chinu. V'chino v'kol zimra, zamru le'Adonai v'chino v'kol zimra. Oy, 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 oy. 135, Psalm 99. God enthroned on cherubim is sovereign. People tremble, the earthquakes. God is great in Zion and exalted above all people. They praise your name as great and awesome. God is holy, mighty ruler who loves justice. It was you who established equity, you who worked righteous judgment in Jacob. Excel the Eternal our God and bow down to God's footstool. God is holy. Exalt the Eternal our God and bow towards God's holy hill, for the Eternal our God is holy. 136, the last psalm of this sequence. Mizmor David. Avu l'Adonai v'nei elim, Avuhu l'Adonai kavod va'oz. Avuhu l'Adonai kavod shemo. Ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al ha'amayim. El hakavod hirim. Adonai, Adonai. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behada, Kol Adonai shover azim, Vaishaver Adonai et arzei halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Lebanon veSirion kemo ven remim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midebar, Yachil Adonai midebar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel layalot, Vayechesof yeharot uveichalo, Kulo merkavod. Adonai lama bul yashav, vayeshav Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. Any progress?
Russell, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
That's what? It means that we can hear them? Okay, Amandla, where to? Yeah. Okay. Jessica, are you ready for the Lechadodi? What? Well, now you're just muted. That's not my fault.
I am ready.
You should see the enthusiasm in the congregation. Good. Friends, here we are, another weekend. I know what you're thinking. Everything goes toward, we want to finish 2021. Everyone just going toward the end of this year, which, what I can say to its benefit, it wasn't as bad as 2020. That's the only good thing we can say about 2021. But generally, we say, may and the year and its cursed be done, may the year and its blessed be start. And here we are, it's just a few weeks away. Hanukkah is 3 weeks away, and whatever you want to do, I bless you that you will seize it in the 3 weeks to come, whatever you want to get from this year. But now, for you to seize it in the next week and the week after, I invite you to take rest and be rejuvenated and refreshed by the spirit of the Shabbat. And for you and for us to have the Shabbat coming and visiting us, we need to create space. I invite you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out and let the space of Shabbat enter. Let yourself come to the realm of Shabbat, the Queen. Take some 30 seconds for that. Give us some codes, Jess. 138, 139. Hadudi.
Shemot Tiferet, Velitil שידברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה נכדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת כלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה גם נדמני עם סגולה בואי כלה נכדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה נכדודי לקראת כלה פני שבת
Thank you, Jess. Thank you. What's the name of that song? What's the original name of that song?
Sikalela.
Remember something with an S. Sikalela.
Mhm.
So, thanks. I was looking looking on the future of me singing alone, a bit worried. Not for you, for me, for you. A song for the Shabbat. It is good to praise God and to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak and your faithfulness each night. With a 10-stringed harp, with the voice of the lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, O God. I shout for joy at your handiworks. How great are your works, Eternal One! How very subtle your design. A brute cannot know, and a fool cannot understand that. The righteous bloom like a dead palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the Eternal One's house, they flourish in our God's court. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that God is upright. Be my rock, in whom there is no wrong. Tzaddik Katamar to you, Rory. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening, Cape Town. To you, Rory.
Tzaddik Tamar Yifrach Keretz Balvanon Yizke Shetolim Bebet Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvon B'Seiva Kishin Garanem Yeho Le'agid Ki Yashar Adonai Tzori
Good. We are moving to the evening service, starting with the Reader's Kaddish, and then to the Baruch, the Reader Kaddish performed by Rory, and the Baruch by Jess. I want to tell you that a few people who hasn't been here for a while, I can see by their faces that they're rather moved from being here after a while. It's good to see you. Welcome, whether you're here for after a long time in the shul or whether you are in the Zoom. Welcome. Reader's Kaddish 144, and then the Baruch, the following page. Please rise if you're here.
Yitkadash v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. B'alma divrach chiroteh v'yamlech malchoteh. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. בגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מעל מאיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקות שבריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דהמירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן.
146. Yes, 148. Blessed are you, eternal God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, whose wisdoms open heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and who arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, holding light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot, Lord of hosts, is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign over us into eternity. Blessed are you, eternal one, who brings on evenings, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Everlasting love, 150, Ahavat Olam. To you, Rory.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשופנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Blessed are you, eternal one, who loves your people Israel. 152, 153. Again, I invite you at home or here to take a deep breath on the Shema Israel. We are connecting to the source. Now, Judaism is about connecting straight to the source. So that's what I'm inviting you to do. Connect to the source of life, and say, I hear God, I hear, I listen, I hear you. And then if there is an answer, it will sound like your older, wiser self talking to you. And God says, I hear you as well. Shema Israel 152, 153. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. 155 bottom. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. So we speak about the tzitzit and we say God has redeemed us from Egypt. That's the connection and why we are now mentioning the Exodus from Egypt, and we say that's the redemption. And if you can see on progressive or Orthodox prayer book, there's a question about, is it had redeemed Israel in the past, will redeem Israel in the future, is redeeming Israel now? This question of redemption is open in the liturgy in the form of the prayer. You will see that it is undecisive sometimes in different prayer books. Here the authors, the editors of the prayer book took a rather traditionalist decision to say who had redeemed Israel, and that's the original intention, because we said this is God who has redeemed us from Egypt. This is a memory of that, and thus we bless. That's on page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you among the gods, the song of the sea, which was recited by Moses and Miriam, as we see in Exodus 15. Mi chamocha 158, to do you, Rory.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זרי ענו ואמרו, אדוני אמלוך, אדוני אמלוך, לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Israel, blessed are you, Eternal One, for redeeming Israel. 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all of you people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai poreh sukat shalom aleinu, al kol amo Israel, al Yerushalayim, ufros aleinu, sukat shalomecha spread over us, the shelter of your people.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום. עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום. עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים ועל ירושלים ועל ירושלים.
Thank you. We had some difficulties with our equipment, but it's not in your expense. It's not even your equipment, it's our equipment. No, it's good. Seriously, that's our speakers. Old speakers. Oh. Observing Shabbat throughout all ages is a covenant for all times. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from war and was refreshed. I want to thank you for bearing with me on that. It's like somewhere between a very solemn and severe moment and a sitcom, but with no buffers. It's at the same time both. And spiritual, very spiritual, but also rather funny, to be honest. Hello. Hello, hey, ma'am. Hey, welcome. Welcome, ma'am. Shap. So we are moving to the Amidah prayer in 164. I'm inviting Mickey and Andrew to step forward to the bima. And if we can have jointly the bima camera and my camera. And please rise, we are in the Amidah 164. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilateh, eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, האל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אמן. 168. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, נחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני אחר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. אמן. 170. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אמן. 172. אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לשמך, תכלית מעשה שמיים וארץ, וברכתו מכל הימים וקידשתו מכל הזמנים, וכן כתוב בתורתך. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. אלוהינו אלוהי אבותינו, בצא במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך. רורי בירדי. שבנו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך. רורי.
ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת. ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת. ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת. ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו, ותהה ליבנו לעבדך באמת.
מקדש השבת. Bless you, Chairman, who sanctifies Shabbat. Retzeh, find favor. 174.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי ברצון תמיד עבודת ישראל. עמך עמך אל קרוב לכל קרב, פני על עבדיך וחננו, שפוך רוחך עלינו, ותחזינה עלינו. בשובך לציון ברחמים,
המחזיר okay.
Yonah.
Blessed are the eternal one who brings his dwelling back to Zion. Thanks. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, it's okay. Yes. And we're moving to the Modim Anachnu Lach. We acknowledge with thanks to you, Jess. 176. Just give us another year. We'll be so mefundis on that. 176.
מודים אנחנו לך שתבוא, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו לעולם ועד. צור חיינו מגן ישנו, צור ישנו מגן ישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור, לדור ודור. נודה לך ונצפה תהילתך, חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך שבכל ערב בבוקר בצהריים, ערב בבוקר בצהריים, התוק לא חלום רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, לעולם קיווינו לך, קיווינו לך. קיווינו לך.
Blessed are you, eternal one. Your name is goodness, and you're worthy of thanksgiving. And finally, on this sequence, 178, front of peace. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל ואת כל העמים בכל עת שבחודשה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Please be seated. You can never stay here with me. Sit on the honorary chairs. Please be seated. Look, everything takes a bit more time today. It is what it is. I'm asking for your forgiveness, you at home and you in the shul. I want to tell you that in numbers, not that we count, but in numbers there are more people in shul than people on Zoom. Not that we count. Anyhow, moment of silent meditation, calm down. And there's much intense for some reason. There's much intense today, so try to calm down. I'll try to calm down myself. And let's just express our wishes in front of the throne of glory. May it come to pass that we'll stay together, that we love one another, that we'll be simple, we'll be authentic and truthful, that we'll be who we can be. We will be who we can be. We will do what we can do. We will be who we want to be. We will do what we want to do. We'll simply be who we are and do what is it that we do in this world. Amen. So be it. A moment of silent meditation, and then just you lead us via Iyul Ratzon. Ratzon. May the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be acceptable. That's the time for Yule Ratzon. Okay. May the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be acceptable to you, God, our rock and our redeemer. Yule Ratzon imrei fi, והגיע ליבי לפניך, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Mrs. Muster, this is not an ever read service, okay? For whatever reason, there's like, yeah. Okay, now seriously, calm down, everyone. We move to page 511 to the Misha Berach, and this is the time when we are seriously, truly, and honestly asking for healing, for renewal of body, and renewal of spirit. And Rory is going to sing it for us, to lead us via the Misha Berach. There are people that we are asking for their renewal of body, for healing. We all know people, or maybe we ourselves are those who are asking for healing for ourselves. You can say it in your heart, or you can mention it loud, whether it be here in the Zoom, here in the shul, or in the forum. All those who saw in tear will indeed weep in joy. Please, you can mention names now. Thanks, Judy.
Misha Beiravoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones
Help us find the
for
courage
us each to make our lives a blessing,
blessing.
and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach Emateinu Mekor HaBracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you. Again, may those who sow into you will reap in joy. The mustard kids, listen, the youngsters, you can, because I'm going to give a sermon now, and it's going to take like 10 minutes, and then we'll be almost done. So if you want, you can go to the playground in the garden here and come back soon. You are very patient up till now. You said like half an hour. That's a lot. Seriously, you can go out and come back in 15 minutes. Okay? Yeah. Maybe, Ruth, maybe you can show them where the playground is and come back. Come. Auntie Ruth, this is Auntie Ruth. She can show you where the playground is. Yeah. Friends, today we Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Can I have the spotlight again? The spotlight is still on Rory. Can I have the spotlight again? Anyhow, I'm with you, okay? No matter what happened in the Zoom. No matter what happens in the Zoom, I'm with you. Today, here we have two events that we mentioned, that we celebrate or commemorate, and those are very different from one another. The first is that there's a farewell of Mika and Andrew, who sadly but legit, they are leaving to the UK, not tomorrow morning, but it's happening after years of sterling contribution to this shul, and that's something that we are acknowledging. And the second, that this is 5 years, believe it or not, to the passing of Beata Lippmann. Those are very different occasions, one from the other, and it brought me to think, what is it that brings such occasion and us as a community together? What is common to such private occasions to the extent that makes them a communal event? What makes these private occasions worthy of communal acknowledgement? Which brings to the wider question of what makes a group of people into a community. And that's been discussed much in sociology. And what I'd like to bring before you tonight is just but a few points that makes it relevant, or I find relevant. Part of the difficulty in understanding what is a community as a social construct, as a social establishment, is that it is not acknowledged or recognized in the sense that other social constructs are recognized in even a legal way. A family has a legal status, a municipality has a legal status, an NGO, a corporation has a legal status, even a neighborhood, a suburb, or a body corporate has a legal status, but a community you cannot define. You can define us as the association of volunteers, but association of volunteers doesn't capture what we are truly. That's just a legal entity of what we are. Not legal or not administrative. And it contributes to the feeling that indeed the community is an atmosphere or an environment, but it lacks a real emotional or a real meaning, and that's the role that we can do to put a meaning into that vague construct. So let's start with what we are not. First, today the concept of community had been extended into the consumer world, and we're talking about a community of those who consume so-and-so product, whether it be something in high-tech or whether it be something in which is consumable. So this is the logic of the market, and we are not there. We are not a community of consumers. Another thing that we are not, as Beit Emanuel, is we are not like-minded people. It's a word expression I never heard before coming to South Africa. Like-minded people. We are not. We are absolutely, deliberately, and consciously not like-minded people. And if that's what you're looking for, because disappointment is a matter of expectations, you are not going to find like-minded people community here. A community is a group of people who choose to live, to share a frame together of a community. This is a decision to create a social, active partnership, to share lifestyle, to share learning, to share activism, social activism, and our communal way of life expressing itself in our progressive Jewish attribute in the prayer, in the life cycle events, in the study, in the social involvement, and so on. Like any other community, we are also building the lifestyle and the range, the scope of activities, social activities, which fits us. Choosing to live together as communities is embodied in the human nature. It is one of the basic human establishment which grows naturally between people who share the habitat, the patterns of behaviors, and the realms of interest. And if I'm looking on us, Beit Emanuel, then we contribute to what we do, to the social change, to the communal life, to solidarity, to structure of support, which is a true alternative to the alienation of modern life. And our community enables the individuals to come together as a group and perform more easily, with more power, the social did and the social activism did. Our community is about partnership, complicated one, comprehensive one of several life realms, and what I can say that is a character of us is the commitment to the people, commitment to the space, to the place, commitment to the idea, and involvement, sometimes over-involvement in the life of the other. That also manifests itself on the desire to impact our surrounding, whether it be the neighborhood, the city, the country, to be involved with it. Our community, no doubt, is a living body, effervescing, supporting, who enables its congregants to implement their desires, their social desires, and to make it work. Another main component that I think hope and wish strive to be a character of this community is the communication, is a dialogical way of communicating with one another. Generally, as we're working as a group, the way that we work as a group enables being enabled by communication. And when I talk about dialogical communication, I'd like to distinguish between the spirit of dialogue and how it affects itself when we talk. Sometimes something looks like a dialogue. People are asking each other questions, they are sharing thoughts, they are politely disagreeing, they're speaking in turns, but the essence of the discourse, the dialogue is not there in its spirit. The mental condition of those who participate in the conversation, the orientation that people have one toward another and toward the subject that is in stake. If people really are interested in winning the argument or to have it their way, then it's not a dialogue, even if people are very polite to one another. This is a conflict. There's always the seeds of a rebel in that. So these are what I would see as the spirit of being in a dialogical space, which is what I strive to have in this community. The first element is a strive to the truth. We are respecting one another, and we come to the dialogue because we strive to find the truth together. Our aim is to learn and to develop our understanding, our knowledge. We believe that the dialogical discourse can promote us toward this goal of finding the truth, and we try to nullify the external motivations such as interest, egos, desire to win, as I said. And in this base of striving to the truth, there is the understanding that if we are rational and if we are bringing ourselves to the dialogue and implying this critical thinking between us, those who are sharing the dialogue, we can share light on the issue at stake. We can present ideas because we have a true desire that our ideas will meet the ideas of the other and that together we will improve it. The second notion is respect between the partners, those who are engaging in the discourse. It means that when I'm engaging with the other, I believe that the other has also potential to promote, to engage, to develop the matter at stake, the discussion, that I have what to learn from him, and that their means are as honest, as pure regarding finding the truth as mine. I'm not presuming malintentions on behalf of the other. I'm saying it because sometimes we see respect as something which is tradable. You see, if you won't respect him, he won't respect you. Or we have the right to be respected, and there is the duty to respect others. This is something that comes often in the discourse. You have the right to be respected, and you have the duty to respect others. And that's, I see it as confusing between respect, dignity, and etiquette, or manners, or decorum. So those are different things. If you don't give respect, you sense respect, you sense that sense of dignity. If you're making a deal when everyone is not speaking while others speak, it's like the meaning of decorum, right? You're not speaking while the other speaks. That's not respect. That's more like a ceasefire. It's more like a ceasefire. It's like it says that we have to restrain ourselves, otherwise, that's what we should have got. We should have having a respect to each other, dignity, but because we are not in that phase, then at least we can shut up while the other speaks. That's not good enough. And the third point I want to touch is that there is no single authority. Nobody is in a possession of the truth. If somebody is in possession of the truth, then there's no point in the discussion, in the dialogue. Then the person who is in the possession of the truth should speak up, and that's the truth. We presume that the key to the truth is in the encounter, in the engagement between all of us, and nobody has a unique or exclusive authority to say that this is the truth that we all believe. And I want to quote you, this is, generally I'm influenced in that conversation with Paulo Ferreira, the Brazilian educator, wrote the pedagogy of the oppressed and liberation pedagogy, parallel to liberation theology, very influential, which means that the object of the knowledge is not a possession of each one of the subjects, as the subject who know. Now, in the case of Judaism, it means that the object in our case, he speaks about the classrooms. Okay, this is something that I take from my years as an educator. He speaks about knowledge of the class and the role of the teacher in the class. I'm talking about the rabbi. But if the object of knowledge that I refer to is 3,000 years of Jewish cultural, spiritual heritage, this is the medium phase that we are all meeting. And it's not in my possession that I am in my graciousness sharing with you. That's not the case. The case is that it's here on the table and we are all approaching it. We are meeting around it, and via the common knowledge, which again, in my case, this is Judaism. In another educator case, it can be the history or the chemistry or whatever we teach. We are exploring it together. Now, it doesn't mean that we are standing in an equal space, that we are all equal. No, probably in a classroom or in a community of faith, somebody is more learned, somebody is more educated, maybe somebody is even more wise. Not that all rabbis are educated and wise and so on. Thank God I am living here in a community when I'm not alone, and there are a group of rather educated sages and teachers and adults who are sharing with me this load. I'm not alone. But it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to hide or diminish myself because I think I'm trying to create an impression that we are all equal and that there is no authority. I'm not giving up the authority of the rabbi. I'm just saying that the rabbi is not the only one who has the truth in hand. We are sharing that together. That's an attribute of dialogical thinking that I think we are sharing here. And that's, I think, why I have some kind of authority, because I can share it and I can be honest about it. So the way to deal with this lack of equality, because the teacher knows more, because the rabbis know more, is to have a self-question authority. Self-question authority. I can show the different perspectives. I'm not afraid of the different perspective. And then I'm giving others the authority to need me as the authority less and less, because you can claim your own authority. You can claim your role as Jews. I'm looking for creating informed Jews and leaders. I'm not looking to be the only one who has knowledge and their leader. I'm seeking to create a community of leaders. So to conclude, it's about striving to truth, it's about respect to the other, it's about the lack of one individual authority. It's not that, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right. It's both of us have a lot to learn. Both of us are right and wrong at the same time. This is the right way to create a democratic and dialogical discourse in society. That's what I'd like to create here and I'd like to see here. And the other matter is to have emotional involvement, sometimes intimacy. Now, it's not intimacy like a couple has an intimacy. This is spiritual intimacy. Spiritual intimacy can create among groups. I think we have it here. And I think that the reason that people want to join this community is because they sense this authenticity of the spiritual intimacy. This is having this caring about one another. That's what makes it's a condition to have dialogical communication, and that enables the basic human need to belong. Something many people say, why do you want to join us? I want to belong. And that balance the inclination toward individualism, because it gives the individual place in the dense and rich social and communal tissue fabric, gives the individual a space of belonging within the tissue of our community. And that's a lot. So to conclude that part, I want to conclude with a quote by beloved Rabbi Zalman Schachter, who said, the only way we can get it together is together. The only way we can get it together is together. As simple as that. So, two matters on the two business of the day. The first, Mickey and Andrew. A few years ago, a couple have came out of nowhere and say, hello, we are joining your shul. I was like rather polite, you know, I'm usually not, people come, people go, it's okay. And they said, we were rather involved in our previous show, we are going to be rather involved here. I heard many promises from many people who promised to be involved and disappear, so I'm rather cautious, you know, it's okay. And then they became involved over and above, to the extent that I cannot imagine how our life are going to manage without them. It's going to happen, but you know, there is a list of things that we said what Mickey does, and we figured out that we need 3 volunteers. I'm not joking, 3 volunteers to sort us out with what Mickey does. So here's the case. There is a combination of family circumstances, leave the detail, that are pushing Mickey and Andrew to go back to the UK. It's not happening at once, but it's going to happen during the coming months. And we've decided that we will do the formal, not the final, but the formal farewell now before the end of the year, to make it clear that we are releasing them from their duties, even though still next cycle and so on, but now they are doing it as a favor. They are no longer under the rabbi cannot call them a nudge, like I'm doing to other volunteers. People in Menkom here know what I'm talking about. The rabbi cannot call them a nudge anymore, because we are letting them go off duty. And this is with great acknowledgement that I would like to invite you over, give you the blessing of the way and a priestly blessing, and present you with the certificate. Can I have the Bima camera? So I want to say about the certificate that we want to give something else, but because we are so pluralistic and dialogical, we couldn't make up our mind what exactly is the other thing other than the certificate. So it's coming. See, it's like stage 1, okay? Before you go, there will be, you want something Africa, take the thing to UK, and when you suffer from the weather there, from being bored and from the politics, and you in South Africa, you'll think about us. And still that for us, acknowledgement. This is to acknowledge with gratitude Mickey and Andrew Jacobs in recognition of their sterling leadership contribution to our communal life. Now I was looking for a good quote. I found one by Rabbi Desta, and it says the following: הממציא עצמו לעבודת הכלל, זכות הכלל להביע אותו למעלה, as people commit themselves to the community, merit the community elevates them upwards, and that's sung by Dr. Davis and myself. I want to present to you stand next to the leads black, the leads social black, and I want to bless you. Bless this verse, just pray that we bless as we go on our way. We be guided in this grace and compassion, find the way of the soul. It's we are blessed. And Christy blessing. Can we have a round of applause? Good. So the next business of the day is the commemoration of 5 years to the passing of Beata Littman. I was shocked to discover that it's been 5 years already, really shocked, because it was a major event, it was a major event of my first few years here. Beata used to come often with Jane, they used to sit over there, and in short, Beata is a veteran of the struggle. She famously wrote in a handwritten the original Freedom Charter. And if you don't know what's a Freedom Charter, then you should know, so ask. And she died in the age of 88, as says in 2016. She and her husband Ellen, who's an architect, they went into exile in 63 under the threat of impending arrest. And when coming back, she worked there as a journalist. And when she came back, they were still involved, and together with Jane became more involved in the work of films and documentaries. And believe it or not, I searched the internet and I found the post that Jane had originally posted saying the follower: Beata Maria Lippmann, force of nature, escaped from Hitler's Germany, anti-apartheid activist, journalist, mother, filmmaker, grandmother, feminist, scriber of the Freedom Charter, marcher of the Women March in Pretoria, all-round feisty woman, died with her family around. Rest in peace. Wathinta Bafazi, Wathinta Mbukodo. So, I want to say that I was honored to know her. We live in a transition time. I spoke about it last week when I spoke about the passing of Mr. de Klerk. You know, there's like that generation in the last 10 years. We saw that with your father, Alexei. That generation is stepping down on history in this decade. It's happening. There's almost none of them left. The last thing I wanted to say, I was communicating with Jane, and Jane mentioned that they both love Paul Robeson. Now that's so typical. Paul Robeson is an American bass singer, artist, and he was known for cultural accomplishment and political stances as a Communist Party singer. He was a singer of that struggle. You know him, the bass of Let My People Go, the partisan song, Zot Nicht Kein Mal, the Soviet anthem in English, he sang it, and so on, and so on. And there is a Jewish part to it. He had many Jewish friends, and a famous encounter between him and the Jewish author Isaac Babel when he was in the Soviet Union. You know, this is so typical to that generation of communist Jews, Rusty Bernstein and others. If you were a communist Jew, you liked Paul Robeson. It's almost, you know, that's part of our Jewish experience. And I'm honored that we are the shul when those segments of Jews come. So I'd like to invite you, Jane, to read a poem and to lead with me the Kaddish. And thank you, Alexei, as well, for sharing. And God bless her memory. What can I say? Let me just read the all other names of the Kaddish. Come up. Have you posted the name?
Yeah, I'm doing it, Rabbi.
Okay, then please go on.
Okay.
Please go on, Max.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died in this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. And tonight, we mourn the passing of, this week, of the daughter-in-law with Barbara Golden, of the passing of her daughter-in-law, Claire Golden, who passed away earlier this week in Australia. And also, we mourn the passing of Shoshana Katzman, the mother of Myrna Lawrence, and Shoshana passed away in Canada on Wednesday. And then we remember Michael Fingelson, the grandfather of Diane Lazarus, Elise Gundelfinger, mother of Andrew Gundelfinger, Basil Kronsdorff, husband of Rose Kronsdorff and father of Daniel Kronsdorff, Richard Prebach, uncle of Charles Prebach and Robert Prebach, Ben Scher, the father of Rachel Scher, and Clara Veth, the grandmother of Aubrey Shapiro. Zichronam Levracha, may their names be for a blessing. And if anybody wants to join with saying the Kaddish, they can go, if in the shul, they can go up onto the bim if they like. And if anybody on their computers can also join in the Kaddish if they have a Kaddish this week.
Thank you, Jane.
I'm going to read a poem that my brother Peter sent yesterday. He's in Bristol, and the poem is called The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell, Ferry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. And I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. And for a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Please rise for the Kaddish. We'll recite it together. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא ויברא חיותי וימליך מלכותי בחי יחון וביום יחון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מן שמיה בחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריך הוא לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה חיים עלינו כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the one who makes peace in the higher places make peace over us as we say amen. Thank you. Please be seated. And I want to tell you, and in a way, please be seated. And you, Alexei, as well, you know, being a child to such prominent parents is a blessing and it's a burden that one is. And as everyone in his teenage years needs to do differentiation and separation between you and your parents, when you are so involved in the story of one parent, and after their passing, it's very hard. It's objectively very hard. And we acknowledge that, and I'm very glad you have one another.
Thank you.
Can I hug you? Good. I'm sorry, everything was a bit delayed because of me, because of COVID, because of the situation, because of the home affairs. So, yeah.
Shabbat Shalom. I wanted to give some idea to, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Loud and clear.
I wanted to give some idea to those people who are on Zoom, what was going on in the shul. There was a kind of electrical
Buzz.
buzz
Buzz,
in the
yeah, yeah,
shul.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was mixed with a lot of good humor. And the point about it was that although it was a bit of a theater of the absurd, it's brought us to the same place as a kind of very tranquil, internal looking meditation, that we've all come to the same place. So that sort of laughter and that hyper agitation has brought us to the same place, and it's very calm at the moment. Even though our sound technician was threatened at one point by the rabbi, we've got your back, I promise you.
Yeah.
And it was also quite funny to think when the rabbi was talking about what is a community, and he spoke about how this community has so many different opinions. Well, we also had a lot of opinions about how you could have fixed the sound. So, okay. Then I wanted to say to Mickey and Andrew, you know, the rabbi spoke about what you've done for the shul, but I wanted to say what you've taught us. It was how you did it. It wasn't just the breadth and the depth of what you did. It was how you did it. And I think one of the things that defines a community is our ability to learn from each other. And I personally have learned a lot from you, not just what you did, but how you've done it. You've done it with such humility and such good grace and such care and attention that it was both humbling and inspiring at the same time. And for that, we will miss you, but you have passed that on to many of us. And I think you've shifted a way in which we will volunteer in the future. Thank you very, very much for that. Okay. I'm surprised the rabbi in all his festivities didn't mention that it's Beit Emanuel's birthday. I know it's a kind of random birthday, but we did turn 67, so I thought that was at least something to acknowledge.
The 19th of November. No, you're right. The 19th of November. You
Which
can see
was
the plaque on the
yesterday.
top of the entrance when you go. The plaque for 54. No, on the other side of 54. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then, because we are such a diverse community, we're even celebrating Christmas in our Sami project. So, Dr. Paul Davis started something. I don't think he had any idea of how huge a project it was that he started, but people have taken on the baton, especially Simone, and grown it into something very significant. And she made an appeal last week in the bulletin, and I just want to emphasize it verbally this week. We are doing Christmas hampers for the people in Hillbrow. And it's really important. If you think that we're just giving them a sandwich and a piece of fruit, and the joy that that brings, the recognition that they are actually worthy of some attention, and that people go there, just that little bit gives them so much hope. Imagine if we came with really beautiful Christmas hampers. And she made a whole lot of suggestions, and I think they're in this week's bulletin, of the kind of things that you can bring. Practical things like sanitary pads, to toothbrushes and toothpaste, but also those of you who want to put something a little bit more frivolous and joyful in it, please do. So please take that seriously. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. And then I'm also here to announce that we're going to have a Hanukkah night market. You know that we're famous for our night markets. The air is beautiful. It's summer in Johannesburg. It's Hanukkah, lots of lights. We're coming to the end of the year, and we're going to have a night market. So I've put my details in the bulletin. Anybody wants to take a stall, please contact us. We have a couple of people already interested in taking a stall. So it's just something nice when you bring your menorahs to shul on the Friday night. We'll have the night market outside. So my details are in the bulletin. Please contact me. And please continue laughing. It's very good for us. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Yeah. A very good sign for a spiritual community is the ability to laugh and also laugh on ourselves. You're reaching a spiritual community, and everyone has too much serenity and lack of sense of humor. And mainly, if you're not allowed to laugh on the leader, on the rabbi, on the pastor, very bad sign. Go out of there. Seriously. Okay, fine. I'm sorry it has been delayed. Last business of the day. Adon Olam, 6:25. Now we're ending with Joseph. Mickey has a tune she shared with us several times from Joseph and the.
The tune from Joseph and the
Yeah,
Seven
exactly,
Sons,
exactly.
Dreamcoat.
That musical.
I just want to say thank you to Rabbi and to Leslie and the community. We have no plans to disappear completely. And due to UK government laws, it's going to take us a long time to even be able to be, for the next 18 months, we're limited to the amount of time. So we will be around and we're still going to be involved and helping, just rather letting other people.
You got your life that you're busy with, enough with that. You're busy from duty, okay?
Yeah.
And if we need you, then you're doing us a favor. That's we're going from the favor.
No, never doing a favor. Never doing it from
Fine.
the heart, both of us.
Ma'am, it's 9:38. Let's have the Joseph thing.
Just very good. This week's parsha is Vayishlach, and it's for me, it's the most important parsha of the year. It's always around our wedding anniversary. It was Rachel's bat mitzvah portion. It is so meaty, and I've had the privilege to speak in many forums. But yes, this is where we first meet Joseph. So, Adan Alam Hashem Alach B'terem Chal Yatsi Nevra Li'et Nasav B'chev Sachol Azay Melech Shama Nikra Ve'acharei Kikrot HaKol Levado Yimlach Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Haveh V'hu Yiyeh V'tifara V'hu Echad V'en Sheni Lahamshila Lahachbira B'li Rit B'li Tachlit B'lohaz B'hamizrach B'hu Eli B'chai Gali B'tzochev li B'tzara B'hu Nisi Umanasli Menot Kasi Bayom Ekra Beyado Avkidruchi Beit Ishan Be'alira Be'imruchi Gaviati Adonai li V'lo ira.
Thank you all. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for the Brucha. Please join us for the Brucha. Okay, now it's not responding. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, people. Bye, bye, bye.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Beautiful
Shabbat
people.
shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.